Testing 1, 2, 3. That's really frustrating that I don't have to do that. Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Everyone are just piling into the webinar now, which is lovely to see. I was just testing out my screen there, so forgive me for just 2 minutes. If you're here today for the social media mini masterclass, you're in the right place, and I am Phil Burse, so I am going to be your host today. I'm going to keep you for no longer than 30 minutes today. I'm going to talk for about 20 to 25 minutes, and I want to leave a little bit of time at the end for any questions or any thoughts or any ideas you might have. I am an open book. I've been doing social media for about 10 years, but I'm always open to learning and exploring new ideas. So please do challenge me if you think I've got it wrong, or if you think there's something that I've missed, or if for some reason you just fancy a bit of an argument. That's absolutely fine as well. I'm only joking. Please be nice, please be tender. Okay, so let's crack on. I'm gonna load the first slide here. Everybody should be able to see this, but if not, I'll just share my screen very briefly. 2 seconds. Okay, great. So I've got my PowerPoint up here. What I want to talk about today is social media. So this is the mini masterclass. This is the masterclass that I do, or the mini version of the full masterclass that I do. So we have got a full masterclass coming up in about 8 weeks' time. I think it's the 25th of September here in Liverpool at Liverpool Science Park. So this is the mini version of that masterclass. Now, don't worry, I'm going to pack it full of as much interesting information as I can. Let me just close the window. I'm going to try and fill this masterclass with as much information as possible, and I hope you'll get enough takeaways that you'll say, that was a good session, thumbs up, and come back for more. Let's crack on. So, a little bit about me. I'm a marketeer by trade. That's what I do. That's what I love. I run 2 companies. I run Elephant Digital, which is a digital creative agency in Liverpool. And I also run Social Co, which is a social media specialist agency, also based in Liverpool. My kind of mission in life, the reason why I get out of bed in the morning is I love growing businesses, and I believe that fundamentally business growth comes from marketing. Yes, sales closes the leads, but marketing generates the leads, the customers to come to our doors ready to buy our products and services. So that's my fundamental belief. I've been doing social media for well over 10 years now. A quick brag, I've got about 16,000 first level connections on LinkedIn, which is quite a lot. That gives me access to around 10 million people in the UK alone. So I've been on social media pretty much since the start, and I love it. I use it every single day. It's part of my work life. It's part of my social life, which I know it is for many of you. The final thing, and forgive me, I'm not going to play podcast bingo today, but I do host a podcast called the Gingernut Marketing Podcast. It's been going about a year now, and I talk about 2 things. I talk about marketing advice, strategies, tips on how to grow your business or organization through the power of marketing. And I also talk about perhaps the softer side, the more mental side of being employed in today's world. So how tough it can be at times, and how resilient you need to be in terms of, creating strategies and dealing with difficult clients and different customers and people maybe internally in the business. So I talk a lot about that. So I hope that's something you may want to jump on and have a listen to. It's on Apple, Spotify, all the usual stuff. So the first and most important question is, what is social media? And forgive me, don't leave at this point, because it's a very important question. And if one of your reasons for being here today is to understand more about why you should invest in social media, this is probably a question that's been asked you by your boss or by your director or by your partner in your business. And it's such a crucial question to get right. There's lots of ways to think about social media, but I'll give you four quick analogies. Number one, I see social media as a long-term trust-building exercise. It's part of the marketing mix, yes, and it can lead to sales, yes, but fundamentally it's more about trust building, credibility building, about building relationships online. The same relationships perhaps we have in the real world, we're just bringing them online. It can make sales overnight, and I'll come on to that in the next slide. The 4 social media myths that I love, and I always get challenged by these, so please do challenge me if you disagree. The 4 myths that I'm trying to quash during this seminar today. Number 1, social media is a solution for a bad product or service. Absolutely not. If anything, it exacerbates the problem. In today's world, we're all connected and we all have the ability to rate, review, and pass on good and bad user feedback in a heartbeat via social media. So no, it's not necessarily the cure or the solution for a bad product. Number 2, it will lead to overnight sales success. And the answer is, unless you're Kim Kardashian and you release a product and you promote it via your social media channels, very few people and very few organizations actually generate immediate sales success from social media overnight. Number 3, it's simple. I use it every day. Probably my second favorite argument against social media. Everyone can write, but not everybody is a writer. That's the analogy I use when people talk to me about it being simple. Everyone uses social media as a consumer. The products, the service, the platforms are designed to make it easy for you as a consumer, as a user. They're also designed in many senses to make it easy for a business to use, but it's a completely different process. It's a different way of thinking about social media. And I want to challenge you first and foremost on that thought. It's very, very different. Number 4, social media is my number 1 favorite one. Social media is free. Well, yes, it is free to sign up to the vast majority of social media platforms, but no, it's not free. There is a time and a resource element, not to mention for lots of channels, particularly Facebook, you do need to have an advertising budget set aside to have any impact in that channel, specifically Facebook. But in lots of channels, in fact, all the channels, there is some sort of resource required, normally your time. So don't let anyone say it's free. Resource, resource, resource. The 2 analogies I want you to leave today with. I think social media is like the campfire. When we sit around the campfire, we talk about our day, we talk about our experiences, we share ideas, we share stories. And these stories inevitably in today's world will revolve or may include stories around the products, the services, the challenges, the solutions we're looking for on a day-to-day basis. And I challenge you all to have a little think about how many times in a given day, week, or month are you recommending products and services to your friends and family around the actual or proverbial campfire. So that's the first analogy I want to keep in your head today. The second analogy is that of the media production center. I'm not suggesting you need to become the BBC. That's not the point I'm trying to make. But I am suggesting that you need to think like a media production company when it comes to rolling out your social media strategy. Fundamentally, in 2019, social media is largely about rich media, imagery, content, animations, promotional graphics. It's about rich media. And that rich media takes time and energy and planning to create and to roll out. To think like the BBC, think like a media production company. Okay, so the first thing you need to do once you've kind of got your head around what social media is, you need to think about how to plan and execute your social media strategy. And this is the bit that I can't do in this mini masterclass today. On the full masterclass, we spend the whole afternoon going through everybody's businesses and their business models and working out solutions and tips and specific strategies for your company that will get you added value, more success on your social media campaign. But what I can do today, I can give you some insight as to what you need to think about when you're coming up with your strategy. First and foremost, social media is part of the overall marketing mix. It's very, very important that everybody realizes that. It is a channel to market. It's also a mentality, a way of thinking about engagement and interaction with our customers. But in terms of the paid, earned, owned, and shared model, it is in the specifically in the shared corner. When you think about it as being part of the marketing mix, it does make you start to realize that it needs to be planned. It needs to be executed in a very strategic and a very deliberate way. So don't forget that point. The questions then I get asked when I do social media consultancy with people are, where do I start? When should I post? What should I post? Can I make money from the platform? And all these questions here on the slide there. The most important question for me is to understand why use social media for your company, for your product or your service. That's the most important question. And I would argue, and here's my first big challenge for the day, not every company should be on social media. Not every company is right for a social media presence. There is a vanity element. I completely accept that lots of organizations are in the position where their customers will be expecting them to be online, specifically on social media. So there's a vanity element to think about there. Perhaps that's one reason why you'd say, well, we need to be on there to make sure our customers know that we're trying to reach and engage with them on the places they inhabit. If you can answer that question, why social media, that's the foundation of the strategy. Fundamentally, and again, keeping it really simple today, you should be on social media if your customers are on social media. That's fundamentally the thing you need to think about. That's the answer to that question. If your customers are on there and you think they're making buying decisions or part buying decisions on social media, then you need to be on social media too. I believe social media can do many things. It is great for brand awareness. It is great for attracting new business and for making sales. But for me, it's about creating a richer customer experience. It's about going into a greater depth of experience than you might get just from a website or from a storefront. Today's customers, today's consumers buy in so many different ways, and they access products and services in a very multi-touch, multi-channel way. So having a social media presence is one way of connecting with your customer. It's one touch point. It's not the only touch point, but it's one additional touch point. Okay, so there are tons of social media channels out there. Again, we've got a mini masterclass today. I can't go through all 10 like we will do on the full masterclass, but I will say that the top 3 channels I would be looking for in 2019, or looking at, I should say, are the following. I'm up for the debate on this, so please do comment if you disagree. Facebook, number 1, hands down, especially if your target audience are in that 35 to 55 bracket. If they're not, Facebook may not be the number 1. I'll come on to that in the next slide. Facebook is a truly unstoppable force. 2+ billion people around the world connected to Facebook and using Facebook on a regular basis. If you think about the biggest club in the world, it really is Facebook. And if you think about the analogy of the campfire, it is a massive campfire. And then what you do, you take that analogy then, and then you drill it down into these micro tribes, these micro niches which you find yourself in, where your customers are. These micro niches may be plumbers in Liverpool have a Facebook group page, and that's where they live, and that's where they talk, and that's where they interact. Facebook is great for these niches and these micro niches. It's really, really powerful for that. Pardon me. The key with Facebook is storytelling and really high quality content. Less is more, I think, for 2019 on Facebook. Really, really good, interesting, engaging, provocative, and exciting content is what's going to make a difference, particularly video and animation. That's what most social media consultants will be talking about now when it comes to social media. Think about rich media, think about video, think about using the advertising platform to its fullest, because there are a plethora of things you can do on the advertising platform of Facebook. It's so powerful. The target demographic, the audience demographic targeting on Facebook is by far and away the strongest and most powerful of all the social media platforms. So if there's one thing you look at in 2019, I would challenge you to look at Facebook. Unless, see what I did there? Unless your target audience is in the 18 to 35 bracket, particularly in that kind of 16 to 25-year-old age group. Now you see here on today's slides, I've used a dentist practice that I've been working with recently as the case study. But Instagram is definitely the place to be if your audience is in that sort of 16 to 35 age bracket. That's where the growth is. Instagram is the bit that is really powering the growth in the social media sector, specifically in that age group. And why would you use Instagram? Well, it's the visual social media channel. You can do so much with Instagram that's very similar to Facebook, but I think people who use Instagram generally have a slightly different way of using it. They have it for like two purposes. They have the curated bit, the actual page bit, the profile bit where you put all your images on as the bit to sort of like get to know the brand. Then the stories bit at the top, the stories are where they sort of engage with and interact with on the content on a daily basis. So don't underestimate the power of stories. Stories are so important on Instagram. It's probably one of the most important things to factor in. And obviously, don't forget about your hashtags and your hashtag research. There's so many great tools out there, again, which I'll share with you on the full masterclass session for researching and understanding how to get the most out of your hashtags and how to get the most out of Instagram. Great tool, really, really good for making a fantastic first impression. The third top social media channel for 2019 is YouTube. Why would you not want your own TV channel? That's my question for you guys today. YouTube is a free television channel that you can create and deliver content to for your customers. Now, I know I'm probably oversimplifying that, but in reality, think about the last thing that you researched. Think about the last thing that you didn't know how to do and you researched. I'm going to stick my neck on the line here and said 9 out of 10 of you went or found yourself on YouTube watching a tutorial video or an educational video about whatever it is you were trying to learn. And that's the power of YouTube for me, for businesses specifically, helping educate your customers through the power of video. Now, I know video takes more time, it takes more effort, it takes more planning, but the results you'll get on platforms like YouTube and using video as a way to communicate your message is phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. The engagement is unbelievably higher. Don't for a second forget that there needs to be a balance to strike here between quality and authenticity. And that is so important. And it's one of the most overlooked parts of forgive me, I'm just reading some messages there. One of the most overlooked parts of YouTube. It doesn't need to be a big, massive media production center. You can do it with your phone. Just do it with your phone, with your Apple phone or your Samsung phone. Maybe you can get a little tripod and record things on. Maybe upgrade to a nice microphone that clicks into your phone, or maybe upgrade to a digital, DSLR camera when you're a bit more experienced. But don't worry about that. Focus on getting the content out there and making it really authentic. The quality will come later. As long as you're genuine, people will engage with it and they'll like it. Right. The core campaign. Okay, this is the juicy bit today. So if you want to start off with an amazingly powerful social media campaign, and then you want to progress onto the more advanced elements, the more advanced strategies, I would argue it's almost pointless if you don't get the core campaign right. And most people that I work with and my team work with, they never get to the point where the core campaign is well structured, well organized, and delivering really good value. So 3 steps. It's dead easy. The first step you have to get right is content. Step number 1, content. In fact, content. If it's not inspiring, motivating, awesome, don't post it. I don't want to see pictures of the cake you had for lunch. I don't want to see pictures of your breakfast. And I don't care what a wonderful tree you've got in your foyer. And I say that with the greatest love because I know lots of our clients post stuff like that. I want content that really moves me, that really motivates me, that inspires me. So when people say to me, how many times a week should I post, Phil? My answer always is, as many times as you can, as long as it's world class, as long as it's entertaining or educating you. That's it. Yes, you've got to be consistent. Yes, you've got to be structured and organized in your approach, but it's more important that you are nailing the quality and you're thinking outside the box and really thinking about, as Seth Godin talks about, the purple cow. What's going to make you stand out in the market? If you haven't watched the purple cow video, go and watch it on YouTube. It's absolutely brilliant. That's Seth Godin and the purple cow. Very good. I think there's a lot of value in curating content, getting content from other people, reposting, repurposing it, and saying, here's what I'm interested in, so-and-so said X and Y, and maybe commenting on it. I think there's a lot of value in that. I think there's more value in content creation, in creating your own content. And that, for me, is where the real power of social media comes in. If social media, thinking back to our campfire analogy, is about telling our story, then it needs to be our story. So when people say to me, what should I post? I say, post about what interests you as a company, as an organization, perhaps as an individual within a company. And then people say, well, what does that mean? Because we talk about, we only have X and Y product, and that's quite dry. My argument is, don't talk about your product. Don't talk about your service. Talk about your mission, your vision for the world, what you're trying to change, what wrongs you're trying to overcome, the problems your customers have in the world that you're trying to solve. Social media is not about you. It's about your customers. Fundamentally, that is such an important learning for today. Get over yourself and your business and stop talking about yourself. Talk about what matters to your customers, and that's their problems and their solutions. Me, my favorite person, me. That's another great Seth Godin quote. Best time to post? I have no idea. You're going to have to experiment and work out for yourself. Every company's different. Every sector's different. Every post is different. It really is a process of learning and adapting. And the final thing is that there's two amazing pieces of strategies we go through in the full masterclass, which again, I'd love to talk to you about, but I just haven't got time today. One is how to create 40 pieces of content from a single piece of content, incredibly powerful stuff. And the 70-10-10-10 rule, which is a variation of the 80-20 Pareto's law rule, which again, I haven't got time to share with you today, but I'd love to do at a later stage. That's how you create amazing content. Once you've got your content sorted, then you move on to engagements. So great content, great conversations are two-way. When we're sitting around the campfire, we don't just sit there and monologue. And maybe some of you do, I don't know. But it's all about having a two-way conversation. And engagement on social media is that two-way conversation. So engagement comes about from two things. It comes about from one, delivering great content, which is why we need the content. And it comes from proactive interactions, including people in your posts, mentioning people, complimenting people, and in many senses, showcasing people. I hear people say, I would never follow my competitors. I follow all of my competitors, and I praise them and I promote them whenever they're looking to hire staff. I share. Why? A, it's a good thing to do. B, pay it forward. And C, the pay it forward bit is you leading the charge. It's you demonstrating what you're trying to do on social media. It's you setting a positive example. And that is a message that should resonate with your customers. If you're seen to be being very proactive and open and engaging and ready to work with the world, that says something about you. I agree it's not right for every company, but I do think you should engage with as many people as possible. Obviously your customers first, and then your partners, suppliers, your friends, your family, anyone else that supports the organization. Don't be afraid to use social media as well for listening, for understanding what's going on in the market. Very good when you use platforms like Twitter and the hashtags and perhaps on Instagram to learn what people are talking about. So then you can shift and create your social media strategy in line with what's being said in the world. 9 at 9. I love this rule. Really, really simple. Every day at 9 o'clock, do 9 pieces of engagement. I'll repeat that. Every day, walk into the office, 9 pieces of engagement. 9 likes, 9 shares, 9 comments, whatever it is, 9 at 9 every day. That is a simple way of doing engagement. It should take you no longer than 9 minutes. So it's 9 at 9 at 9. That's the rule. That's what we do at Elephant Digital. 9 at 9 at 9. Great tip there. And finally, good engagement delivers growth. So when we're having a conversation around the campfire, we want more people around the campfire. We want to share with more people. We want to have a conversation with more people. Simply put, follower growth comes from 2 things. It comes from delivering amazing content and from proactive campaigns. The focus on follower growth needs to be, again, similar to engagement. Number one, your ideal customer, your ideal target audience. Number two, partners, suppliers, influencers, anybody around the world that you live in, around your sector, your supply chain. That's the word you need to engage with. Again, because if you engage and be proactive, hopefully they'll reciprocate and they'll be sharing your content. They'll be engaging with you on your posts, which builds your social media presence. It sounds so simple. It's just not rocket science. It's actually very, very straightforward. And there are proactive campaigns. So again, we'll go into this in a lot more detail on the full masterclass. But for example, on Twitter, here's an example. You could say to your boss, I'm going to grow our social media following by 100 people every month without fail. That's quite a bold statement, but think about it. If you follow 1,000 people on Twitter on the first day of the month, leave it for 10 days. Anyone who's followed you, keep following them. Anyone who hasn't followed you, unfollow them. It's called a follow campaign. Now, the great news is that the stats show that somewhere between 10 and 20% of people will follow you back just for the interest, just to see what you're talking about. So if you follow 1,000 people, you're going to get 100 to 200 people every single month following you back. Really simple. Pretty much the same process on Instagram as well. That's a way of guaranteeing follower growth. But you have to complement that with a really good content. Otherwise, you'll lose those people pretty quickly. Loads more tips and tricks in the full masterclass. Apologies, I can't go through it today. But don't buy followers. Please don't buy followers. It really is a disastrous thing to do because you're just conning yourself. If you can buy 10,000 followers, you think you're doing well. But the problem is the metrics in most businesses are followers, engagement, leads, and sales. You don't get sales from 10,000 people who don't exist, that are fake accounts. Please don't buy followers. Okay, so that pretty much is the masterclass for today, the mini masterclass version. I know that was a lot to take in. I'm sure there were some takeaways there you can use straight away. If there's things that you think, I'd really need to know that, Phil, you idiot, why didn't you tell me that? The problem is because I've got 25 minutes and a lot to cram in. So we run social media masterclasses in full about 3 to 4 times a year up here in Liverpool. If you want to join the next one, I have very generously, that sounds like idiot thing to say, apologies. I am giving you 50% off this next masterclass. So it's on September the 25th. It's in Liverpool at Liverpool Science Park. And we're going to go through all the things we couldn't cover today. It's a full afternoon, a 4-hour session. It's a workshop style event where we will be creating the framework for your social media strategy for your business specifically. You've got all these bits and bobs you're going to learn here on the screen. The link's on here. I'll post a link in the comments as well. And yeah, I really hope to see some of you there. We normally get about 20 people sign up, sometimes around 20 to 30. So I'm being quite generous there. I'm literally saying the first 20 people, you can have it 50%, and that should fill up the masterclass. I'd just like to meet some of you lovely people because you've all been lovely today. And there's been a few people asking a few questions. So yeah, one quick question from Ali King, just to answer that while we're online. He said, the 3 channels we talked about today, all for B2B. I mean, the answer is yes and no, really. The number one channel for B2B is LinkedIn, definitely. If you're B2B and you're selling business to business, you've got to be on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time, and that's where I get most value from B2B. But having said that, the demographic targeting on things like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube especially, they're all targeting people. Now, people have 2 lives. You have your work life between 9 and 5, and you have your personal life between sort of 5 and midnight. But you're still the same customer. You still go home thinking about work and still looking for solutions to challenges you had during the working day. And in many senses, you're actually processing better in the evenings. So I would argue that Facebook works for B2B. I'd certainly give it a try. Whatever you do, remember that the demographic targeting on Facebook will only get you so far. And I'd probably it's all about trial and error. It's a process of really understanding your audience. That's the key thing that you need to really understand about any marketing. Understanding your audience, define it, and then use the demographic targeting in each of the channels to really hone in on who you're trying to get to. LinkedIn's incredibly powerful for doing that, especially in the B2B world. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. If anyone's got any questions, jump on the chat now. I'm going to be around for the next 5 minutes if you've got any more questions. Had some lovely comments coming through, which is really nice to hear. And if I don't see you at the Social Media Masterclass, please do listen to the Gingernut Marketing Podcast. I promise you it's worth a listen. I spend a lot of time crafting some interesting subjects, such as LinkedIn being the new superpower, which is I posted a few weeks ago, which is really, really good. teach you all about how LinkedIn hopefully is going to rival Facebook in the next 12 months. So if you're B2B, that's a great podcast episode to listen to, especially. Sally Hislop says, are you running another one apart from September the 25th? Yes, we're probably going to run another one in November. We normally do about 4 a year, sometimes 5 a year. My colleague Emily will probably email everyone who was on this webinar today just to let you know the dates for all the training courses. In fact, we actually run about 10 different training courses. So, just keep an eye out for all of them. And if you don't mind, everyone's on the mailing list now, and we'll send you out our general training updates, which come out about once a month. We do everything from social media to SEO to web to brand, and we've got our kind of core digital leaders platform, our digital leaders program as well. So Emily will email you out all the course dates, and we'll tell you about all the social media ones coming up. I hope to meet you all on the 25th of September. Please do use that discount code, which I'll post in the group now, and have a wonderful day. It is very sunny here in Liverpool. It was until about 10 minutes ago. And for some reason, just as I got on this webinar, it decided to go all dark. So I'm going to go and try and find the sun in Liverpool now. And I wish you all a very, very good day. And yes, I shall speak to you soon. I'm going to put it on mute. But if you need to chat, keep chatting on the chat. Have a great day.